Good morning, and thank you to everyone who's joining us today for this installment of the Excel Events webinar series. We're going to wait just a few more minutes here to let a few more folks join us, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you. Good morning, and thank you to everyone who's joining us today. We're going to wait just one more minute for a few more folks to join us, and then we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you. Good morning, and welcome to this installment of the Excel Events webinar series. Today, we're going to be chatting about how to run a successful golf fundraiser. My name is John Kazarian. I'm one of the co-founders of Excel Events. The presentation today is going to be provided by Zach Hagopian. He's another one of our co-founders, and Paul Corder. Paul is the COO of Perfect Golf, and Paul will be contributing to the presentation as well. So what I want to do is just take a minute here and tell you a little bit about Excel Events before turning it over to Zach. Excel Events is a mobile fundraising and event ticketing solution. Our mission is to help enhance your donor experience in all aspects of the event fundraising space. So that's everything from selling tickets to your event, streamlining check-in, and then also facilitating the actual fundraising sides of things, such as running a silent auction, running a fundraising raffle or a text-to-give campaign, or maybe a fund in need or cause auction. We've been around for about 4 years, and over that time, we worked with a number of different organizations, some of which I'm sure you're familiar with. So we work with organizations of all different sizes, to national nonprofits to individual parent-teacher organizations. We'd love to have you follow us on social media. You can find us at Excel Events on both Twitter and Facebook, as well as Instagram, where you'll find a bunch of different posts about different fundraising topics. Many of those this time of year are focused on the golf space. So we'd love to have you follow us and check out some more of that educational material that we're putting out there. And with that, let me turn it over to Zach.
Awesome. Thanks, John. And thanks everybody for joining today for our webinar. We're really excited to get started. It looks like we have a great turnout so far. So everyone, feel free to stay active on the chat over on the right side of your screen, and feel free to ask any questions as we go through the webinar here. So as John mentioned, we have a great lineup for today's webinar for the next 40 minutes or so. We are really going to focus on the idea of running a successful golf fundraiser. So I'll be giving a quick overview of what we mean when we talk about golf fundraisers. We'll talk about different fundraising types and different ways you can enhance and raise more money at your golf fundraiser. Then we're going to cover a few tips and tricks and turn it over to Paul over at Perfect Golf Event. So as you can tell by the name of their company, Paul's team really focuses on providing services and products that will help you enhance your golf fundraiser and raise as much money as possible. So we're really glad to have him on the line today, and he'll be presenting some great information. So we'll dive right into it now. But like I said, if anyone has questions, either specific to your event or even just to the fundraising topic in general, we're happy to answer those questions. So to get started here, we'll keep it pretty broad and tell you what a golf fundraiser is. So it's pretty straightforward, but obviously a golf fundraiser is going to be a fundraising event that uses a golf fund or golf course as the backdrop, where we typically include different types of golf competitions, a lot of which Paul will talk about a bit later. But essentially we're giving organizations, or golf fundraisers give organizations, the chance to mix it up a bit in terms of having an exciting fundraising event. So it gives an organization a chance to take advantage of the summer weather, get their supporters outside and competing in a fun way that also supports their organization. Another great part about a golf fundraiser is that it gives you the opportunity to engage some of your supporters that may be in a different demographic, right? So people who are, more competitive, maybe they want to get outside, more active. So it, again, opens up that channel in terms of the donor base that you can engage. So to get started here, we found a great example of a golf fundraiser and the types of fundraising tactics that a great effective golf fundraiser will use to raise money and support their cause. So as you look at this poster for a fundraiser, you'll see there's a few different components that are really successful. Some of these are incorporated in different fundraisers that we've seen. Some fundraisers will include a couple of these different components. Some will include all of the components, as you can see in this example. But as I go through these really quickly, and we'll break these down for you and talk about each individually, a few of the major ways that you will raise money through your golf fundraiser include sponsorship, registration, and ticket sales. Then, of course, there's your pure traditional fundraising tactics, things like silent auctions, raffles, or pure donations. And then where it gets really interesting are the different types of fundraising programs and tactics that you can incorporate that are specific only to golf fundraisers. So on the bottom right of this page here, you'll see a helicopter ball drop. That's something we'll talk about. That's one fundraising tactic that many golf fundraisers will incorporate. But like I said, we'll have Paul on the line later today or later this hour to talk about a lot of different successful golf formats. So again, not all of these need to be used in one fundraiser for a golf fundraiser, but the more engaging and the more variety you provide, we see that results in higher funds raised. So now we'll break down each of these revenue streams for a golf fundraiser. Obviously, one of the biggest drivers of proceeds and where you're probably going to start will be selling the tickets, registration, and sponsorship for your event. So the typical way to sell tickets or registration for your event will be in terms of signing people up for their groupings on the golf course. That's going to be a twosome or a foursome. Of course, you can determine the price that you'd like to charge there based on, first off, your cost in terms of how much it costs you to actually use the venue and use the golf course. But there's also the opportunity to sell just general tickets to your event. So these may be people who aren't going to be part of a twosome or foursome. They may not even be golfing, but they want to generally support your cause. So we recommend selling general tickets. You'll also see a couple examples over on this image on the right here in terms of tickets that you can sell that don't need to be directly related to golfing. So you can sell tickets to the dinner or networking portion of your event. You can sell tickets to just the helicopter ball drop, or we have different competitions we'll talk about later, something like longest drive or longest putt. And you can sell different signups to those types of fundraising tools through your registration page. And then, of course, the other major way to bring in fundraising dollars via registration will be with your corporate sponsors. So many of our organizations will use their registration page to have their sponsors sign up, whether it's just to give them their VIP or complimentary tickets, or to actually have them make the donation directly on their registration page. So to recap, when you're thinking of your ticket sales or registrations, it's not only going to be for those people golfing at the event. It can be anybody who's coming to the event to support your cause, and it can also include your corporate sponsors. So as I continue here, feel free to ask any questions. We'll keep moving on now. One example you'll see here is an example of a golf fundraiser we found, and you'll see that variety that I spoke to in terms of the different types of tickets that you can sell. So at the very top here, you'll see a standard foursome. This is something that groups would come in and purchase so that they can sign up for the event. But you'll also see a range of tickets here, from individual golfers, the opportunity to buy a mulligan, so pay $10 essentially to be able to redo your shot. Of course, that $10 goes directly into your funds raised, so it's a great way to add additional proceeds. And then you'll see different sponsorship opportunities. So this organization got really creative and actually offered different sponsors the opportunity to sponsor a specific hole. So a sponsor would, pay, in this case, $1,000 to sponsor a hole, and then their signage and maybe somebody from their organization would be present on that hole to greet the golfers. So now what we'll do is get into different fundraising formats that you can use to help enhance your proceeds and enhance your fundraiser. So a few ideas here over on the left side. What you'll see is what I mentioned before, a combination of fundraising tactics that are common across any type of fundraising event, and then a few competitions and tactics that are going to be specific to a golf fundraiser. So starting at the top here, your silent auctions, raffles, maybe a text to give or text to donate example. Those are things that you may use at your standard fundraisers, but they apply and work very well in terms of a golf fundraiser as well. So as John mentioned, Excel Events, we're obviously a mobile fundraising platform. So we give you great tools to raise funds in a mobile setting. This means people can either bid if it's a silent auction, either online or via text message. People can donate via text message as well. So as you think about the backdrop of a golf fundraiser, the mobile fundraising component is very effective in that now your golfers and your participants can donate and even bid in a silent auction from anywhere on the golf course. So we'll talk about those examples. As I run through these really quickly, I mentioned the helicopter ball drop is a great way for you to raise funds. We'll talk about what that means, but it's a really exciting way to raise additional funds for your organization. And then we have different competitions here. So some of the most popular are longest drive, which, what it means is whoever can hit the longest drive off their initial tee shot will win some type of prize. Obviously, they will donate to participate in that competition, and that's where you will raise more funds. And then another example is closest to the pin. So this is a similar idea. The idea here is whoever can get closest to the hole on their first shot will win the competition. So these are just a few examples for you. It looks like now we have a couple questions I'm going to jump over to here. So let's see. So great question here. How can you integrate an online silent auction into a charity golf fundraiser website? So great question. I love the idea of obviously bringing an online or mobile silent auction into your event. As I mentioned, and we'll actually talk about this, I believe, in the next slide. Using mobile fundraising for a golf event is a great way to engage your fundraiser or engage your donors and let them bid throughout the course of the event. So in terms of incorporating it into your charity golf fundraiser website, it really will depend on your objective and the provider that you use for your online auction. So in terms of how Excel Events works, we give you a couple options specifically. When you create a silent auction through our platform, you actually are creating your own custom website for that auction. So the short answer in that case would be you could drive your audience directly to that website, whether it's on their phone or at home before the event. And then we'd also give you a custom phone number that your guest could text in order to submit a bid via text message. So that's one way to do so. But if you have an existing charity golf website, most providers, Excel Events included, can give you a specific code that allows you to embed the silent auction component of your fundraiser directly into your existing website. So that's one way to do it. And as you mentioned in your question here, that would allow you to have everything in one place. So the two options to recap are you could use the custom web page that's built for you as you create your auction, or you could embed the silent auction component of our product or a similar platform's product directly into an existing website that you already have. So great question there. If anybody else has questions, feel free to go ahead and type them in the right side here, and we'll continue to answer those and have a conversation as we go through. So I recapped a bunch of the points on this slide now as I answered the question, but just to review here, some of the major benefits of mobile fundraising at golf events are that you are now utilizing online and text message bidding so that people can participate from wherever they are, whether they're at the event or not at the event, whether they're at the clubhouse or maybe out on the 9th hole. Mobile fundraising also allows you to reach a larger network. So you may have a lot of supporters that for some reason can't physically attend your golf fundraiser. So using a mobile and online fundraising tool will allow you to engage those people from wherever they are. We also find that using a mobile or online fundraising tool instead of a physical tool or a physical traditional fundraiser will help you save time, will keep everything in place, and it will also help you collect information on your donors in real time so that you have that information for follow-up purposes. And of course, we've seen that our clients raise a lot more money when they switch to mobile fundraising. So we can give you different stats here. I think in general, we range from about 30% and up in terms of the increase that our clients see when they switch to a mobile fundraising format. So now we'll quickly go through some examples of mobile fundraisers. I know we talked about a few before, but just to give you some more details here, the most general way to start would be a donation page. So this is an online donation page. Something, again, to answer your question from before, we can put this donation page either directly on your existing website, or you can drive traffic to a donation page as a standalone website. And this gives you just an easier way for your supporters to donate to your cause, rather than writing a check or doing something in person, doing it manually. Your guests can do this from their phone. They can do it from their computer at home. They basically select their donation amount and can check out with their credit card. So it's a really simple way to raise funds. And of course, you can spread this beyond your attendees at your event by sharing a link to a donation page via social media or via an email marketing campaign. So then the next format here, which of course we just talked about for a little bit, would be your silent auctions, raffles, and fund a need. So silent auctions we talked about for a while here. So again, the idea is your guests can submit bids either online or via text message. They'll receive outbid notifications and winning notifications throughout the course of your event. They don't need to be at a specific auction table to do so. Similar idea here with raffles. So we take the idea of your traditional paper ticket raffle and allow your guests to instead purchase tickets online and then submit those tickets either online or via text message. So again, this is a great option for your outdoor golf fundraiser because this will allow your guests to purchase tickets and participate wherever they are. And then John mentioned quickly at the beginning of this webinar, but fund a need or cause auctions are general ways that you can have your guests donate to your organization in a more specific format. So rather than just being a pure donation, most organizations will create a fund a need campaign to give specific topics or specific causes that your guests can donate to. So this could be something like sponsoring a patient or sponsoring the building of a wing in a new building. So you give these specific causes to your supporters, and then they can donate either online or via text message to support that cause and submit a pledge. The next format here, text to give. This is very simple, obviously. Really what we can do here, and again, a great application for this as a golf fundraiser, is we provide you with a unique phone number that your guests can simply text the word donate to, and they can submit their donation on the spot. So it's really easy to do. Again, it gives you great access to your guests, especially throughout the golf course, to help raise additional funds. So now I'm going to shift a little bit. I will talk a little bit about different fundraising tactics specifically for golf fundraisers. And then, like I said, I'll turn it over to Paul and he'll really dive into those a bit deeper. So to go through these quickly, a helicopter ball drop is a great way to raise additional funds. Essentially, what a helicopter ball drop consists of is taking a lot of different golf balls, putting numbers on them, and then assigning those balls or those numbers to your event participants. So each participant will pay to participate in the ball drop. What happens next is a helicopter literally takes the bucket of golf balls that are participating and hovers over one of the holes at the golf course and drops all of the balls out of the helicopter. Whichever ball is closest to the hole, the person whose number represents that golf ball is the winner, and they typically win a portion of the pot, and the rest of that money will go to the organization. So again, it's just a unique way to raise additional funds that's a bit unique to the golf fundraising format. A few additional golf challenges I mentioned quickly. Longest drive challenge, where obviously the participants will pay to join and
Zach, I've seen some of that
enter this
pricing.
competition,
It tends to
and
be
then
around
the
500
participant that
bucks.
has the
The other
longest
fun
drive
thing
off
is
their
you
tee
can now do
shot
it with
will
drones,
win
which
a
brings
portion
down the
of
cost
the
quite a bit.
jackpot. Same idea goes for closest to the pin. This is rather than longest drive, it's see who can get their tee shot closest to the pin off their first shot. Typically, this is done on a par 3 hole. And then finally, buying a mulligan. This allows your guests to essentially have a redo at any point throughout the golf course. So this is something, again, you can sell mulligan opportunities directly on your registration page, and it's another way for you to raise some funds. So these are just a few additional golf challenges. It looks like we have a couple questions here. Let's see, how much does it cost to rent a helicopter? So that is a great question. It's actually something we've heard a lot. There are actually different companies that can do this through. I do not have an exact range in terms of cost right now, but this is something that we can definitely follow up with everybody on and send a few examples of websites where you can helicopter to rent. So again, there are groups that do this specifically for fundraisers. So we will follow up after this webinar with a few resources on that for you. Great idea. So rough cost, it sounds like around $500. Some people are using drones to do so. It looks like another opportunity or another option that a few people are mentioning in the chat here called golf cannons, which I assume it's a very similar format, but instead of dropping balls from a helicopter, they're kind of shot out of a cannon. So again, that's something to consider as you think about ways to raise funds here. So thanks everybody, Ira and Elizabeth, Marilyn and Rick for your comments, and Brittany as well as we go through some of these slides here. It's great to see the questions here. So now I will go through a few quick tips and tricks, then we're going to turn it over to Paul. Just a few things we've heard back from our clients that work well at fundraising events. If you're doing a mobile fundraiser, a great idea is to print out sheets with all of your auction items and put those directly on the golf carts for each of your teams. So this way, wherever they are on the course, they're able to participate and bid on your items. We also see great success with teams that have live call to actions on certain holes. So this means taking either your sponsors or participants or supporters of your organization, having them stationed around different holes of the course and encouraging live donations throughout the course. So of course, this is a great opportunity to incorporate your text to give or online donation feature. And just the last tip, we would say, make sure there's constant refreshments. As I'm sure most of you guys know, if there is sometimes refreshments or maybe alcohol present, that can turn into some additional donations. So make sure you're keeping your guests well fed and hydrated. Looks like we have a question here from Caroline. We will send out a link. We'll send out some resources in terms of golf cannons as well. So we'll send some examples of helicopter ball drop websites as well as golf cannons. So thank you for that question. So now as we transition here, I'm going to turn it over to the expert, Paul Quarter. So again, Paul is the COO of Perfect Golf. And what he's going to talk about today are different formats and contests that you can bring and incorporate into your golf event to help raise more funds. Before I do that, Paul, I have one more quick question here from Kim. She just asked about examples of call to actions. So Kim, that's a great question. A call to action can be as simple as just asking your participants to donate. Again, it could be using a text to give feature or an online donation feature, but it's also a great opportunity to think more about a fund to need or cause auction example. So what you could do is on each hole have a different cause or a specific area of your organization that a donation is going to. And the call to action would be for your golfers to donate to that cause specifically. So that's where we've seen some success in terms of specific call to actions on the holes. It is generated or it is geared towards generating additional donations, but the more specific you can get into where those donations are going, the more effective the call to action will be. So great question again. It looks like Dan also sent out a link here for an air cannon example. So thank you for sending that, Dan. It's great to have everybody participating in the chat over here. And now for the remaining time of the webinar, like I said, I will turn it over to Paul to go over different formats and contests for your fundraising golf events. So Paul, I will turn it over to you now.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
We can. Thank you.
Okay. And just in terms of helicopter drops, to give you an example, we just did one in Jacksonville, Florida, and they sold the golf balls for $100 each. And they sold 270 golf balls for a Catholic school. So they raised $27,000. They gave the winner a $5,000 checks. And after the cost of the helicopter, which was about $500, they netted around $22,000. So it can be, and it's something people remember. They'll talk about it. It's a great way to either do it right before you tee off or after you're finished, so people can still buy tickets up to the end. So it's great. And if anybody wants to see some links to some of the marketing materials for them, we'll be glad to share those as well. Do I have control of the screen to switch to slides now?
So I have it now, Paul, but I can manage this for you. So just let me know when you'd like me to move forward here.
That's fine. Yeah, that's good. All right. So first of all, we're going to talk about formats. There's about, depending on the National Golf Foundation, you may say there's anywhere from 150,000 to 300,000 charity golf events. So you hear that number and just know there's a lot of people out there trying to raise money with golf events, obviously because they're good fundraisers, they're a good way to network and add new supporters to your organization. So one of the issues, go to the next one, one of the issues is that, we can go to the next slide. Okay, so what you're trying to do, obviously, is raise more money, introduce your supporters. But one of the things we try and focus on is making sure the players have a great experience. You want them to leave your event and say, you know what, that was really worth the time. That was worth being away from my family, being away from my business, spending the money. So what are you doing with your event to make it interesting and different than maybe some of the other events that are out there? Next slide. So, traditionally, I'd say 98% of the golf events are out there, or maybe more, are 4-person scrambles, and they have a really unique format. You have golf, lunch, and awards, or they may change it up and they may have breakfast, golf, and awards. So basically, you have the same kind of event format being used for all the events that are out there. You're out on the golf course for anywhere from 5 to 5.5 hours. And so what we try to encourage people to do, let's go to the next slide, is to look at some ways that have different formats to energize your event, attract more golfers, look for more sponsor revenue, give them a memorable experience. Because again, back to my focus as always is, was that event great? And did people come back? Do they want to come back the next year? Do they remember this event, said, remember that event and what happened there? So let's go to the next slide. So I'm going to give you some examples of events that have started to make a change. And you don't have to do a full change here, but you can start to add elements to your event that make it interesting. So here's an event that's been around for 20 years. But like a lot of events, they started to lose energy. Some of their golfers got old. They're saying, oh, no, it's the same format as always. So then for their 20th annual, they just changed the format a bit. They took the golf course. They added some additional par 3 holes. So they moved the tee boxes up, and they had, instead of just 4 par 3 holes on this one, they moved up and they had 6 par 3 holes. They took the 2 golfers closest to the pin on the 6 par 3 holes, and they came in, they had a shootout for $1 million. Then they also added a Masters putting contest. So now they could go out to their audience and say, come on out. You can have a chance to shoot for $1 million. We've got 6 par 3 holes with contests on them now instead of 4. Somebody's going to putt for tickets to the Masters, which is an insured contest. But it added energy to their event that they didn't have before. Let's look at another one. This is an event that's been sold out. We started this event about 4 years ago. It's already sold out for next year. You can't get into the event unless you buy a presenting sponsorship for $10,000. It's done at Boca Grande at the Gasparilla Inn, and it's 18 par 3 holes. So we move all the tee boxes up. We put $10,000 hole-in-one contests on each of the par 3s. We have the 18 golfers closest to the pin during the event come in, and they have a shootout. And they shoot for $1 million, and we give $10,000 to the winner of the shootout. Now, what a lot of people will say to me is, well, this must be some huge organization. They must have lots of money backing it and all that. It's not really the case. This is for a preschool that starts with from birth up until 5th grade. It's a school with 48 students, and yet last year it netted $143,000 for this event, and it's completely sold out. It'll be the 4th year it's been sold out, and it's because the format is so interesting, and also we're done in 3.5 hours, so you're not dragging out there the whole time. Let's look at another example. Here's one that we just did in Washington, D.C. for Athletes versus Epilepsy. They wanted to play some regulation holes, so they did 9 par 3 holes, 9 regulation holes. They had hole-in-one contests on each hole, $1 million shootout, $1,000 to the guaranteed winner, and a putt for the tickets to the Masters. And when I'm working with organizers and with Perfect Golf Event, we probably have about 1,500 events up right now for the year. And what I try to explain to them is, when you go out to talk about your event, what do you offering to the golfers that makes it interesting, and what do you make it interesting to the sponsors? So if you look at the brochure on the left here, you can see all the things that they've got listed that are going to happen the day of the event. And then you have to compare that to your event and say, wow, and what am I offering in addition to the box lunch, some golf, and some awards? What else am I giving to them? Obviously, some of the fundraising and the auction tools that Zach talked about adds a lot to it. So those are good features you can add to make it more exciting and interesting and a better way to raise money. But we think formats are really good. One of the questions that came up is, how do you get tickets to the Masters? It's an insured contest. So, basically what we do is we have, we'll person will take a putt. They win the tickets. The tickets are worth about $12,000. So the organizer pays insurance policy of about $595 to have a putt for the contest. And if the putt is made, then we buy the tickets, again, worth about $12,000. And we had a winner earlier this year on the putt. The guy cried. He was going to take his dad to the Masters. It's really a great story, and it's a great thing to promote on your event. Let's look at the next one. This is an event, again, we're playing a very nice golf course. They wanted to play the full golf course. So this one we took and just had 5 par 3 holes, but we had some very interesting, I'll talk about hole-in-one contests in a minute. We had very interesting hole-in-one contests, and we'll talk about how you do interesting hole-in-ones in a bit. This one, they had 10 golfers in the shootout. We put in a helicopter drop here. Actually, this one, the helicopter cost a little more, it was $950, but we brought in a Huey helicopter from the Vietnam era. And I can't tell you what reaction we had when that thing pulled in. And this time we had putts for the tickets to the PGA Championship. So just gives you an idea. We can go to the next slide. you'll get a copy of this deck. But again, the point I like to make is, if you laid out a highlight sheet for your event, what would that look like? What's going to happen before people tee off? What's happening on the course? What's happening after? Is there a shootout? So you wanted to say to people, come on out. This is going to be different than any other kind of event. And we've had a number of people that started with this Perfect Golf event that just had the traditional format. Some of them are on this webinar, who have now completely changed their format to add more par 3 holes, more interesting contests, some shootouts. It just makes your event different. We'll go to the next slide. And then this is the last one I'll cover. This is really a unique one. This one I've done for 9 years, 18 par 3 holes. We have a $50,000 BMW on every hole. You have 18 close to the pin qualify for $1 million shootout. And the person who's qualified for the shootout, the person who's close to the pin during the shootout, wins a new BMW guaranteed. And again, this one, it's not an inexpensive event. We charge $10,000 a team to play in this, but we play 6-person teams because we can move along faster. So it's about $1,600 a golfer, but we've given away 8 BMWs plus 2 more that were hole-in-one. So we give away 10 BMWs. And again, when people ask me, well, this again must be a big organization. No, this is for an inner city school that is for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Has about 58 students in it. But the format draws so many people that are non-supporters of the school who then become supporters of the school. It just makes it interesting. We'll go to the next slide. So now let's talk a little bit about contests. And I look at almost every website that gets set up in our events. I'm using Perfect Golf Event. And I try to look at it and say, what are you offering to the golfers, and also for the sponsors? Because sponsors love to be involved in contests. So let's look quickly at some of the contests that you can do for a golf event. So the key, again, is going over the point I made before, is you're trying to create excitement, raise more money, and have people walk away and go, wow, I saw somebody shoot for $1 million. Or I saw a helicopter ball drop, or I saw somebody take a shot for a BMW on a hole-in-one contest. Again, it's different than what you see in traditional events. Let's go to the next slide. And what happens is sponsors like to cover the contest. So when you look at your sponsorship packages, what I see a lot is you have a title sponsor, presenting sponsor, gold, silver, whatever, but you don't have enough contest sponsors, and contest sponsors will cover the costs. Your putting contest, long drive, close to the pin, hole-in-one contest. They love to sponsor shootouts, $1 million shots. Those are the kind of things. And if you're smart, you'll involve your sponsors in the contest. For example, if I do a putting contest, I'll have it, say for the Masters, I have charged people to get into the contest, but I'll let the sponsor be on the green while we're doing the putting contest. They get to meet the golfers, have fun, interact. Maybe he's a salesman for an insurance company, he's a broker or whatever. He gets to meet potential clients. He loves the sponsorship, and the players have a good time in a putting contest. Let's look at the next one. So again, I try and look at your event day highlights and talk about how many contests do you offer, and how many sponsorships do you offer for these contests? Because sponsors will cover it. If you've got a hole-in-one contest, and traditionally a hole-in-one contest is, let's say you want to do a $10,000 hole-in-one contest. The cost of that is about $300 to cover up to 144 players. And it covers multiple winners. So if 2 people make it, they both get $10,000. But you sell that as a sponsorship. So you sell as a sponsorship anywhere from $500 to $750 or $1,000. Sponsor gets the recognition. They could be on the hole if they want during the event. So you've given the players a chance to shoot for $10,000. You've made additional revenue off of the sponsorship. And that's how the math works in these contests. So let's look at the next one. So what you're looking at is how, and I tell organizers, let's look at your event and let's look at your agenda for the day. How are you going to generate revenue before tee off, during registration, meals, while players are warming up? And Zach talked about that in terms of auction items, raffles, and all that. Let's go to the next one. So, you can sell a lot of things on your website with Perfect Golf Event. You can sell mulligans, raffle tickets, super tickets, dinner tickets. I have a lot of my events that offer tickets to other events they're going to have. So let's say their golf event's going to be in June, but they're going to have a chef's night in September or a trivia night in November. You can add those items onto your website. So when people are buying it, say, hey, while I'm here, I might as well buy my table for the trivia night or my tickets to the gala. So that gives you. Then you can also work with Zach's group in terms of the online auction items. Let's go to the next one. You want to have a putting contest before it. And again, putting contests, there's two types of putting contests. There's insured contests where you pay insurance, and if the person makes the putt, the insurance company will pay the claim. Or you can have a guaranteed winner contest, like we offer a number of those, where you can have a Carnival cruise or a resort stay or a trip to Vegas. And if it's a guaranteed contest, then it means we're going to send you the certificate for the prize before the event and just give it to the winner and it's over. So there's varying costs for that, but at least you get to go out on all your literature and say, come on out. You may have a chance to putt for the Masters, or you might have a chance to win a cruise for two, or a trip to Las Vegas, or we get a trip to Disney or Universal Studios. That all makes your event much more interesting. Go ahead. You can do the same thing with chipping contests. And again, what I'm trying to fill here is, in any golf event, people show up early. I did a big event on Monday for the U.S. Army. We had 140 golfers, but I probably had 60 golfers that were there an hour and a half before tee off because they were so excited to be playing. Some were soldiers that with donated foursomes. So we made sure there was plenty of things for them to do. So we had a putting contest, we had a chipping contest, we had a long drive contest on the practice range, we had a raffle, we had some auction items, and then we had a helicopter ball drop. So we made sure we filled that time before tee off, so to say, wow, this day is really starting off great. Let's go to the next slide.
And Paul, we have a quick question from Tina here.
Yeah.
Asking if your team typically sends people to the golf events that you're helping with, or for the most part, just provides the contest and the software, if maybe it's a combination of the two?
It's a combination of two. Most times we'll just coach people through it. We'll work with the golf pro on setting up the contest. And other times, if they physically want us there, we'll be glad there and come run the contest. But most times you can run the contest yourself, and we'll use the golf pro to kind of coach you through some of the setup. So we vary it both ways.
Perfect. And then one other question from this example here. Brianna's asking, what is a super ticket?
Good, very good question. A super ticket is when you combine some elements of a contest into one ticket. So let's say, for example, you sell mulligans and you're having a putting contest and a chipping contest and $1 million shot. So instead of having them reach in their pocket 4 or 5 times, I'll have them come up to the event and said, here's our super ticket, and it's $50. And for this, you're going to get entry into the putting contest, entry into the chipping contest, 2 mulligans, 2 raffle tickets, and we're going to draw one name to take a shot for $1 million. And that's so you sell them in one time, one thing. So you're not trying to collect 5 different times from them. And that really is effective because they come to the event, they buy the super ticket, they're into everything at that point, and you've made additional funds. So does that answer the question? And you can customize them any way you want. You can bundle anything you want into a super ticket. Sometimes we'll add a discount in the pro shop or whatever, but just put as much as you want into the super ticket and get their money in one transaction, as opposed to, so you might add a helicopter ball drop into the super ticket. And if anybody wants examples, we've probably got 150 different super tickets we've done. We could show you examples of what other organizations have done. Good question.
Great question. Yeah. And thank you guys for the comments, Brianna and Lisa. One more question. It looks like from Caroline, do you give a discount for the super ticket versus buying the games individually? That's
a good question. Yeah, we try and do that. So, or sometimes we'll say, to encourage it, we may say the only way you can get mulligans is buying the super ticket. And so if not, we'll say normally to get into the putting contest, maybe it's $20, and the raffle tickets are 2 for $20. And the chipping contest, $20, and then say, but if you buy this, the whole thing's at a discount of maybe 20%. But yes, it makes sense. And one thing I hear from people, they say to me, well, they paid to play golf, and I don't like to nickel and dime them when they get to the golf course. And I said, that's crazy. 75% of the people who play in a golf event are guests. They've come as somebody else has bought the foursome for their company or their entertainment. So you're trying to raise money, and I come to a golf event with money in my pocket. Now it's your job to get my money for a good cause. So don't be afraid to ask them for additional money. And I love the super ticket because it's just one big transaction as opposed to trying to hit them 6 different times.
Awesome. Thank you. Great questions. And thanks for the answers, Paul.
Okay. So again, last thing I'll do, we'll talk about this. We'll do a long drive before tee off. This is kind of fun. It's easy. It's cheap. You hold on the driving range. We'll go get the latest driver from the pro shop at a discount. Players, they'll pay to play. Maybe it's part of the super ticket. and whoever hits his longest gets the driver. And so it's just, again, another fun activity to do while they're warming up, and people like to watch people bash the ball. So again, I'm not always trying to spend extra money. I'm trying to raise additional money, but also give players something that's interesting and fun to do while they're warming up. We can go to the next one. Oh, okay, good question. I just forgot that I had the slide. So here's an example of a super ticket you were asking about. So here you got entry into the putting contest, where someone's going to win a 7-night resort stay. You got 2 mulligans, and we're going to draw one name to take a shot for $1 million. And this is a sponsored item, so you can see there's a spot there for the sponsor name. So this is an example of a custom super ticket, and you can put any elements you want into the super ticket. If you're going to have a raffle, you could say 2 raffle tickets, whatever it is. You can add a discount in the pro shop. The pros love that if they come in with this and get 15% off anything in the pro shop, and you get part of the proceeds back of that. So you can bundle these together into any way you want as a super ticket. We can go to the next one. Now we'll just wrap up here, and I'll just talk quickly about the on-course contests. Go to the next one. These are things you don't typically charge for, but separately for, but you sell them as sponsorships. So you can have, again, hole-in-one contests can be for anything that can be insured. They could be for $1,000 to $50,000. Basically, the insurance company takes the risk. And so you can do something like this is an event the Guardian School did, Pebble Beach trip for 2 worth $10,000 was a great hole-in-one contest. Let's go to the next slide. These are examples of different ones you can do just to show you your idea of cash, Pebble Beach. Here's a bourbon trail tasting, fishing trip to Canada. One of the things you know about it is you can customize, you can insure anything that has a value. For example, I'm doing an event in Philadelphia, and they wanted something unique that other events didn't have. So what we did is we put together a hole-in-one contest where the winner gets to go to London in October, trip for 2 to London to see the Eagles, the Super Bowl champions, play the Jacksonville Jaguars in London. So it includes airfare, tickets, hotel. That's the hole-in-one contest. Now, that event is so excited because nobody else in Philadelphia is offering that event because we just made it up. Now, oddly enough, I also sold it to an event in Jacksonville who just had to switch and put the Jacksonville logo up on top. So if there's something you want to think about, I've done ones like I'm doing one for Michigan where they're going to do a Michigan away game. I did one for season tickets to the Seattle Seahawks. So we can customize a hole-in-one contest to fit your local market. So again, your event can be different. Go to the next slide. Your event can be different than any other events that are out there. Okay. So you can have close to the pin contests Zach talked about. They could be close to the pin, could be, guaranteed winner prizes like tickets to sporting events, things like that. We'll go to the next slide.
And Paul, quick question. Any recommendations on insurance companies for that would sponsor these contests?
We do all our own insurance. So it's called
Perfect
Golf Event. We insure everything from the mat to the $1 million shots, to the Masters tickets to Pebble Beach. And so all the insurance, and you can see any of that on perfectgolfshop.com has all of our tournament packages and has all our hole-in-one contests. And if you want something custom, you just email us and tell us, hey, I'd like to be, I live in Miami. Can I do something unique in Miami or whatever town you're in? I just like to find things that make your event stand out differently. So let's see any more slides to see. Okay. So yeah, we're almost wrapped. Guaranteed winner, close to the pin contest. These are sort of ones where you have guaranteed winner contests, which means you get the certificates ahead of time. So you can do guaranteed winner close to the pin. And then next one will be long drive. Same thing. You can mix them up with cruises and things, just so the winner has something when they go home, different than a pro shop certificate. And then the last one will cover shootouts. Okay, I've covered this before. The main thing is you want to offer these as sponsorships so they can cover the cost. And then we'll go one more.
And just one great question here from Allie. She's curious, with all the costs involved, how organizations can turn a profit here. I think, Allie, and I'll turn it over to Paul as well, but I think a big part of it, what Paul just mentioned, is working to have sponsors underwrite or cover the cost of some of your expenses. But as you think about some of these contests, there are great ways that you actually encourage a lot more engagement and participation. So you actually turn a profit on multiple different contests. And when you take that all into account, then you have a pretty profitable event.
Very great answer. Correct. Sponsorships will cover the cost. All right, I think the last one I have is shootouts for a second. And then again, shootouts are a great way to end. Like you do $1 million shot. or you can do a shootout for $100,000 or $500,000. What's been really popular is giving golfers a chance to take a shot for $1 million, and then with 50% of the winning proceeds going to the winner and 50% going to the charity. Now, it's a difficult shot to make. It's normally from 165. We also now have the option to go up to 150 yards, but it's still wonderful to be able to go out and say in your promotion, come on out, you may have a chance to shoot for $1 million. Again, it's different than saying, come out, you can have a box lunch. So I think that's my last slide. So thank you very much from my standpoint. I appreciate it. And yeah, that's the shootout thing. So if you have any questions, just contact shop at Perfect Golf Event, or my personal email is Paul at Perfect Golf Event if you have any follow-up questions. So thank you very much for listening.
Awesome.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Thank you so much, Paul. Thank you guys for the great questions. Caroline, to answer your question, I believe, as Paul mentioned, Perfect Golf can help with any of kind of the insurance needs here, whether on a custom basis or if you're just looking at some of the options or services they offer. So Paul would be a great resource here. We will definitely follow up with with Paul's information, with contact information for Perfect Golf, as well as all of the information in this deck. I know we're a little bit over. It seems like everybody had some great questions, though, so I'm glad we could give you a ton of information in a little bit under an hour. If anybody has any more questions, feel free to type them in the chat now. Otherwise, what we'll do is plan on following up here. So Lisa has a quick question in terms of rates for Perfect Golf. Paul, I don't know if you want to give maybe a quick summary, or otherwise we can follow up with pricing with Lisa directly.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to use this for websites, it's inexpensive, $147 to set up a website for your event, and then the insurance is based on the value of the prizes, and you can see all the insured contests and guaranteed winner prizes on shop at Perfect Golf Event.
Perfect. Any other questions at this point? Let's see. Can we just purchase the insurance? So that would be another question for Paul.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. You can just buy insured. Probably do that all the time. People just buy hole-in-one contests or putting contests or whatever from us. Sure, that's what we do.
Perfect. And Brianna, yes, to confirm, we will be sending out all of the slides here. So you'll get an automatic email actually from us following the webinar. You'll have the deck in there, so we'll make sure that everybody gets that as well. All right, guys, it looks like we are just about to wrap up. So again, I want to thank everybody for participating. I want to thank all of the great, thank you for all of the great questions. We had a great participation in the chat over here during our webinar. And of course, I want to thank Paul for taking some time and going through all these great options and examples for contests and competitions. So thanks again to everybody. We're going to wrap up the webinar now, but again, we will send out this information in terms of sending the slides and the information, and feel free to contact either Perfect Golf or Excel Events with any questions. Obviously, we're working together here, so happy to help out with any questions you may have. So thanks again, and everybody have a great day.